Good evening. This is Charles Van Morgan, News Unbridled. You can call it like NBC News. They have NBC Nightly News. You can call this NBC News with Charles Van Morgan Unbridled. It's not a bad con unbridled news, because this is the truth you won't hear on regular news broadcasts. This is the truth. It's unbridled. There's nothing to hold me back except for the civil laws, and I obey civil laws. So the wind's blowing. I'm going to talk up kind of loud. This is the second recording. This is the first one I had to delete because wind was affecting it too much. But the reason why I can deliver this unbridled is because I'm actually a lawyer, albeit an unlicensed lawyer, because the state of Tennessee, the crooked Tennessee Board of Law Examiners, won't give me my law license. Although I agreed to abide by the rules of professional responsibility, they lied on me. They didn't obey any professional responsibility rules and damaged you, the public, and refused to give me my law license. But I have a legal education. I've passed the bar exam twice, and I agreed to abide by the rules of professional responsibility to get my law license, to try to be able to help you all somewhat. They denied me, and if they had given me my law license, then I would have had to obey the rules of professional responsibility. If you don't, they'll pull your law license. The rules of professional responsibility are very long and complex, but namely some of the most important ones, as far as should be of concern to you, that relate to me now, is that if you are a licensed attorney, then you cannot run down the court system. You have to uphold the court system, right or wrong. If a judge makes a decision based on money, or commits crimes, or puts somebody in jail unlawfully, walks all over the Constitution, you can't call that judge out by name and say, this is a crooked judge, it was a bad decision. You have to say stuff in favor of the courts to try to uphold the courts, even if they're wrong, which is kind of alarming. And you can go through their system of complaining quietly behind closed doors, and they'll just dismiss it. So I am not a licensed attorney. They do not have my livelihood on the line. They refuse because they were unprofessional, because the courts can be unprofessional, but they want to keep lawyers in line. They want to keep lawyers involved in their lives. So I can tell you the truth. I have the same education as any judge, and most attorneys, I have more. And I, unlike them, can tell you the truth. I can call out a judge or a lawyer and say, hey, look, they did this wrong. They're crooked. They're criminal. They did this for money. And they can't do that. So I can tell you the unbridled truth. And we're going to do that with the news, and we're going to do that with calling out people. The only thing I'm subject to is civil defamation laws, but we'll talk about that in another video. And basically, the courts are so corrupt, if you say anything against public officials, or their public officials, or their people in power, then they can hold you accountable, because the judges issue the rulings, and they're crooked as hell. The court system's crooked as hell in Tennessee. You want to hear a licensed attorney saying that? Because they can't. Well, I can, and it protects you. But let's move on to the news today. Since you understand, I can tell you frankly what's going on. In the news, several death row inmates have filed suit, and they're petitioning the Governor Bill Lee, the transvestite, still in the closet because he denies it, Christian. He's a Christian, right? Yeah. Okay. That's why there's little kids without medical care and people starving across Tennessee, because he's a good Christian, in his own words. So I don't know. God knows his heart. I know he'll be judged for the way he's mishandled Tennessee and cost people their lives. So, there's a greater amount of accountability when you have power. And when I had power, when I was a member of the Highway Patrol, I saved lives. Mr. Lee campaigning and lying to Christian people, and it's not completely his fault. Some of the Christian people bought it. A lot of them haven't. And I'm a Christian myself, but I'm not someone that's bought and paid for and does wicked things like Governor Bill Lee. But several of the attorneys from these death row inmates have petitioned Governor Bill Lee for a moratorium on death sentence executions because they claim that the protocol and the mix of drugs is not safe and it could cause them undue suffering. And I mean, I know what comes to people's minds, cause them undue suffering. They weren't concerned about that when they murdered people that they did to get on death row. It would be funny that they're arguing that, except for it was deadly true. And the people that are on death row, we don't need a moratorium. The ones that it's no doubt that they committed the crimes, the heinous crimes that they did and got a death sentence, should be executed. Now, Governor Lee had already issued a previous moratorium on death sentences, and there has not been a death row execution in the state of Tennessee for more than 5 years. There hasn't been a person that has been held accountable for brutally murdering another person. Some of them very heinous things, killed young people and stuff. And they haven't been held accountable because the Governor, Bill Lee, the great Christian man that he claims to be, has refused to do his job. I know it's not pretty, and I wouldn't like executions either. I've had my feet on the ground. I've had my boots on the ground. I've been in bad situations. I've seen people's death and what's caused them. It's very alarming, and it's not a happy thing. It's very sad. But you have to do your job. When you swear to uphold the law and protect the public, then that's what you have to do. If you can't do that, then you don't need to be the governor and enjoying the pay and the glorious position and the attention. Your job is not about that. Like Coach Apple, his job is not about the media attention and all that, which you can tell he's not about that. His job is about winning football games. Governor Lee's job, one of his main jobs, is about safety and protection of Tennesseans, which he has failed miserably. And so, if you have to admit it, the Republican leadership has failed miserably. Now, the Republicans across Tennessee, the rank and file Republicans, you haven't failed. It's not your fault they lied to you, but they did. But these death row inmates have, through their attorneys, and most attorneys in Tennessee are crooked as hell, have asked the governor not to execute them until they figure out, buying them more time about the protocol, about the mix of drugs, so they won't suffer. Now, the 5 years, there hasn't been any people paying for the serious crimes that they committed that they should have paid for. There's been an execution in 5 years. There has been about over 700 murders a year. So in the 5 years that there's not been no accountability, there's been about 3,500 murders, some of them very brutal, but no one paid for it. And so you see that justice is not being served in Tennessee. And I don't like to be an advocate for the death penalty, but I like to be an advocate for the people that suffer the consequences of these people's evil acts. And it gives them peace to know that death sentences are being done and that they will be carried out. I think of the horrific murders here in Knox County, Tennessee. Shannon Newsom and Christopher, the murders of the two young people in 2007. And their murders are still alive, and they can't be executed right now because of they couldn't have been for several years. They could be technically right now unless the governor orders the moratorium on death sentences. So my view is that people who have committed heinous acts of violence and killed people brutally and have been given the death sentence, and that there's no question that they did it. It's not a case where two defendants testify against each other, and no one really knows what's happened, which is, we've had people that have been put on death row because of their partner in crime has testified against them, and that's kind of hokey, don't you think? I mean, either one of them could have done it. Maybe both of them should have put to death. But I'm talking about the cases where it is known, eyewitnesses, and also scientific evidence that they have done it beyond any reasonable doubt. I mean, we know that they did. And there has been a moratorium where they can't be executed. They should be executed within 5 years of getting the sentence for the family and for the victims. And they should be executed by firing squads, plural squads, because there's failed executions. And if we have firing squads, we use bullets and shoot them. And then if a doctor checks them quickly and they're still alive, then we have another set of people that will fire at them again to take them out of this world like justice demands. And it needs to be done within 5 years. A bill needs to be passed in the legislature, promoted by the governor. And I'm not saying I'm running. I don't know. I might not. But that needs to be done for the safety protection of Tennesseans. Now, there's several arguments against the death penalty. One of them is that it doesn't stop murders, that during times when there's been executions, the murder rate's still high. But what it does do, I promise you this, it is 100% effective on the recidivism rates of those who have been executed. So it is effective. And also, it gives peace to the families. They don't want their loved one walking around, or they don't want the one that killed their loved one walking around while they brutally, with damage, and with some of them suffered brutally. They don't want the one that killed them walking around. That bothers them. And they're walking around in a jail cell, but still they're still alive, getting 3 hots in a cot, and they have entertainment, things they can do. That's just not right. If someone murdered your family in a brutal manner, would you want them still alive? And I know that doesn't happen to everybody, but you should support their justice of having these people taken out of this world. And I support that. Within 5 years, by firing squad. Now, some people say executions are very expensive. Well, we'll use cheap bullets and keep the cost down. And a lot of the expense of executions, they say it's cheaper to keep people in jail for the rest of their life than it is to execute them, which is true. It's because of dirty attorneys that rape the system. And all the money goes to attorneys and the injustice system. So we need to cut out a lot of that. Attorneys don't need to get rich off defending death row inmates and defending these people. And the cases don't need to go on forever unjustifiably. And these crooked judges keep these cases going on because they're afraid to lower the gavel on stuff that is completely obvious to anyone, because it keeps cases going and kicks the can down the street and doesn't do justice to society. If they can't do their jobs, they need to be voted out. And I'm telling you right now, most of the people in Tennessee government office, most of them, not all of them, there's very few, need to be voted out. That's the reason why we're having power to you, the people, to get a proxy of people together to vote these politicians out of their office and put judges in office that will enact justice. One of them, Sharon Lee, she voted against the death penalty. She also appointed a crooked attorney over the Board of Law Examiners that was, while she was committing a felony of dishonesty and deceit, an infamous crime, adjudicated, she was an attorney, she adjudicated that I'm not qualified to be an attorney. Now, Sharon Lee did this. Barbara Zulica's the attorney that committed a crime. She committed a lying, thieving crime. I mean, that's kind of horrible. And she adjudicated the lying thief, and the one that appointed her is Sharon Lee, adjudicated that I shouldn't have my law license. I've never been convicted of any crime. Now, I've been accused of crimes. I get this, accused of crimes, because I stand up against the government peacefully and run for office and say, vote for me, and then, whoop, police. Yeah, it's kind of rigged, ain't it? But there's one thing about me. I trust in God. He's the only one I'll bow my knee to. I'm not afraid of man. I know where I'm going, and you don't scare me, and there's nothing wrong with standing up and telling the truth. And that's what I'm doing for you. Now, you can follow along. I don't expect everybody to stand out front. It's kind of scary. It can be. You can follow along, or you can charge ahead. I'll be right with you. Or you can go right beside me, but support power to you, the people. It's a movement about me. You don't have to take the shots. I'll dodge them for you. Now, I fear God, not man. And that lady Barbara Zulica that committed a crime, federal authorities charged her. They wouldn't even have state authorities charge her because they're her friends. They're not going to charge her with a crime. They didn't. It's federal authorities charged her. And she was convicted, admitted to stealing money, stealing tax money. And it was a lower amount than what she actually stole for a sweetheart deal. And they had to take her law license away in Tennessee because of the fact that she admitted to committing a crime. Now, she adjudicated, I'm not candid enough to be an attorney, although I've never committed a crime. I should have been an attorney. She committed a heinous act against me that hurts you all because I can't defend you all because a crooked line attorney adjudicated that I'm not worthy to be an attorney. The truth is I'm very worthy to be an attorney because I'd point out inconsistencies in criminal acts by their dirty judiciary, whom I know, I've met a lot of them, and their dirty, crooked attorneys, a lot of them here in Knoxville, Tennessee. You know, the dirtiest ones are the ones you see advertised almost every day. Where do they get all that money to do that advertisement? They steal it from the public. Legal theft is what it is. They rig it where they can get a lot of money. But they gave Barbara Zuliker, had to lose her law license, and within a matter of a few days, they had to take them away. They officially took them away. And then she automatically got them back. That's been since 2019, since she adjudicated that I couldn't have my law license. I still don't have my law license. And what's that been? About 7 years ago? And she got her law license back within about 35 days or something like that after it was taken away. And she committed a crime. So, you know, that's the unjust system in Tennessee of the judiciary and the courts, the mafia. And now they're determining whether or not someone should be executed. And, you know, they're not going to want to execute people because they know half the people, or I don't know about half of them, but a large number of people that they execute are not really guilty. They did it for political purposes. So they don't want to kill anybody because they know if they have it done, they will be executing guilty people and they will be executing some of the favors where they convicted innocent people. I'm just telling you the truth. It is the very truth. And that's one reason why people don't like the death penalty, because of the false convictions. And there's a lot of them, I believe. So the judiciary don't want to execute anybody because, you know, they don't have the heart to execute innocent people, although they don't care to put them on death row. So we can save money by using cheap bullets, not continue to pay the crooked judicial system and judges a lot of money, put them in front of firing squads, plural, to make sure we don't have a failed execution, get the job done, and we can get it done. And it won't cost that much, and we can do it within 5 years to give the family satisfaction that the person that killed your loved one will not die peacefully with a nurse and doctors minimizing your pain in a hospital, because that's not the way you done the person you done, and that's just not fair. But under this government in Tennessee, if someone brutally murders you, I'm telling you, they will probably die peacefully in a hospital under medication that keeps their pain down. And if that's the kind of government you want, then, it's not, I'm not disrespecting Tennesseans, keep voting the way you're voting, because that's what you're going to get. You get what you pay for. So we need to vote these people out of office. Vote the Supreme Court out of office. They're the most crooked court in the United States of America that get rich off of you and harm and damage your safety, your public safety. And that's not an understatement. I can go into detail about that. So that's in the news, the executions. We need to get it done quick, fast, and in a hurry. If people aren't guilty of the crime they committed, and there's some of them that are, then if we're not sure, then we need to maybe give them life in prison. The ones that are sure, firing squads within 5 years. The ones that haven't done it, then let the governor, a good governor, maybe me, I don't know, review the paperwork and give them a pardon because they haven't been guilty. So the justice system, the criminal justice system, needs to start taking accountability and responsibility and start doing its job. And we need to vote people in office that'll do that. So let's turn the page to the other thing we're doing on the nightly news, Unbridled with Charles Van Morgan, is I put out there's a hit list against Tennesseans. There's a group of people that have a hit list out against you. Now, they'll try to turn around and say, Mr. Morgan's got a hit list out against people. No, I don't. I don't want anybody any harm. I don't wish them harm. I wish them to be accountable for the harm that they do to you, but I don't want them to suffer harm. And I know the wind's blowing. I'm trying to speak up loud. So what we can do is, I got this list where these people have a hit list against you, and they had a hit list against me. They had a hit against me, but I survived it. You see me still here. Hello. Hello, Tracy Trotz. I'm here. I got some more stuff for you. But, and if you think this is sad, he put my address out on the news and harmed me and my children. And I'm not going to put his address out because I'm not a dirty thug like he is. That I'm not going to endanger his family. I'm not that kind of person, but he's a low-life thug. And I don't care to say that about him. It's called speaking the truth, Trots. He trots to the bathroom. But anyway, this hit list that they have against you, I'm going to make you aware of these people that wish you harm. And I went through about 3 or 4 names. The next name on the list is somebody in the East Tennessee area. And you've probably heard her name. And she's a glorified person in the good light. Her name is Kimberly Ogle. Hello, Kim. I'm still here. You want to try to hurt me? You know better than that, don't you? Yeah, self-defense is a real thing. I wouldn't advise it. Because, you know, when you got somebody backed up against the wall, they got nowhere else to go. You might not want to charge them, but you might be that stupid. I don't know. You think you're brave, but you're not. You're a con, and you've been a danger to society. Now, one thing she did, she got a hit list against you. She wanted to promote that seatbelt use causes people's death and is a serious problem. So she needs, and the state needs to get more money so they can pay her, because seatbelt use is a horrendous problem that kills a lot of people. A lack of seatbelt use never killed anybody else. It kills the person sometimes, although rarely, that don't have their seatbelt on. It's not a horrendous problem. I'm not sure it should even be illegal. But they wanted to put on the report, they falsified reports, and every death, even if seatbelts used, they put the seatbelt wasn't on because they want to list that as a contributing factor. And then when they can list by statistics that, hey, the lack of seatbelt use is killing all these people. So they say, well, what we need to do about it is raise the fines so we can get more money. Isn't that real cool how that works? I said, it's not even very complicated, is it? Raise the fines because it's killing a lot of people. When they lie on the box, somebody's got their seatbelt on, they die, they check, they didn't have their seatbelt on, when in fact they did. Because they want to promote the image that seatbelt use is killing all these people. No, it's not. I've seen it happen live in real time on the road. And they order troopers under them to do stuff that's not right. And what can they do? They have to follow orders. And they don't know. They're relying on their supervisors that's been on working wrecks longer than they. So they mark a box that they probably know deep down in their heart's wrong. And also, she used her position. Now, the Ogles, I've heard, they own half of Sevierville, so they probably contribute a lot to these political candidates' campaigns to get them elected falsely. Now, she was involved in getting a criminal friend of hers out of severe punishment. The lady that was stealing a lot of money from Sevier Countyans, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And she was charged with a crime, her friend, and she had a Sweet 16 party, giving her daughter a party that was paid for, exaggerate party that was paid for by her thefts. And she wrote a letter and had 2 other troopers, Derek Watson and Mike Turdley. And they wrote a letter to the judge saying, don't punish this lady. And it was a big mistake that she stole people's money. And the judge gave her a free ride almost. And used her name as a Tennessee state trooper. And they, you know, what would that do to the judge? Hey, he wants to get our tickets too, you know. So she got one of her friends out of severe criminal offense. And then a few years later, what do you know? The criminal that already got out of it because of Kimberly Ogle committed another crime. Are you surprised? So yeah, she helped somebody get out of prison. You know, I worked under when I was a state trooper. Not impressed. I mean, you have to look way down. I think she's not nothing against short people, but short and fat and proud of that, I guess. But she goes to the gym all the time. It doesn't work, Kim. It doesn't. It's not working for you. But anyway, she took me off the field training officer program. I was assigned by another lieutenant to be on the field training officer program. And then when she was reassigned to her, the field training officer program, she took me off of it. I was the leading enforcer in the whole state of Tennessee, 900 troopers, in DUI enforcement. And she took me off of training other people how to do that and put her good old boys on that. Some of her good old boys that didn't do anything went on to get promoted to high-level positions where they can teach other people, don't do nothing, worship the brass and get promoted. I didn't worship you then, Ogle, and I don't worship you now. Your boots ain't shiny and I ain't kissing them. Time it's done, you'll wish you'd treated me with respect, I think, because we're going to put the truth out about you all. The Tennessee Highway Patrol is a crooked agency, one of the most crooked agencies in the state, under the Tennessee courts that rule in their favor even when they kill you. That rule it's okay. So she took me off the FTO program. She helped a criminal out of several charges. And she's promoting more money for the Tennessee Highway Patrol. She gave me breadcrumbs instead of putting me on the FTO program or doing a lot of other things she could have done that I deservingly so that I could have been able to teach other troopers to protect the public. She took care of her good old boys. She's also a witness on the case against me, the false, fake case against me that they reassigned judges to adjudicate as to lies. She was a witness list on that case, so she was even going to lie against me and on a witness list. So she was on the hit list against me, literally on a list to defame me and lie against me. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I got her name on the hit list against you all. She's a danger to y'all. And people like that need to go. You know, they got their pictures up in these public offices. They need to come down. We need to have not burning Bibles. We need to have a burning pictures of fake politicians that damage Tennesseans. So that's the broadcast for tonight. Charles Van Morgan, Nightly News Unbridled. Thank you all. God bless you all. We love you all. Help us get this message out. Power to you, the people, not the politicians. And the way you can do that is friends calling friends. Call your friends. Ask them to call their friends. Or people, supporters, contacting everyone. And ask them to contact everyone. And we can bypass the billionaires bought election. So bypass the money. If you want to give money, get on the square. I had a significant contribution the other day to help us get the message out. I promise you the contributions will be used to promote you, to promote power to you, and to help get the message out. Flyers and billboards and campaign ads to put your message out, because we're going to meet with y'all in different cities when the funding comes, and we're going to listen to you all, and we're going to go to Nashville, make noise, and make these politicians serve you. So call all, contact all. If you want to contribute to the square, God bless you all. We love you all. You know, John 3:16, God said, for God so loved the world. God loves the world. God loves you, and God loves voters. And God loves even non-voters. If you're a non-voter, get registered, because God loves the world. And I love you all too. God bless you all. Take care. Until next time, keep track of Charles Van Morgan, Unbridled News. Tell your friends. Thank you. Bye.